In this business, I find that a lot of people think they can do it until the rubber meets the road, and they realize it takes a lot of self-determination and motivation and self-discipline. Because you got to motivate yourself to walk out the door every day and go be bold and courageous and knock on doors and face rejection and all the things. And truth be told, a lot of people are sensitive and can't handle rejection. And, you find out that quick when you come into the roofing business.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business.
All right, today we got Scott Huffman, fresh off an Axis hunt in Texas. Louisiana boy here with GSAS Construction Group. Man, good to have you, man. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit. We talked a couple weeks ago, and I thought there was some interesting conversation there about, really how a lot of people, a lot of owners get started, with the hustle, with the sales background. You're getting out there just making it happen, but that's not running a business. But that initial hustle, I truly believe, man, you really need that, and it'll get you a long way. But then things change. Let's start with how, a little bit about your background. How did you end up in roofing?
Yeah, man, I'm actually prior to roofing, I'm a sign language interpreter by trade. So I spent, I guess I give you, the real backstory. I spent 5 years in prison. While I was in prison, I lived with 10 deaf guys. Of the 5 years, probably about 3.5 years, I lived with those deaf guys. So I was completely immersed in deaf culture, and I got a crash course in interpreting. I was really fascinated with it. The long and the short was that was my job at the prison. They saw me hanging around with the deaf guys, and the warden came to me and basically gave me an ultimatum. He's like, "Look, guards are complaining you keep sneaking onto the yard with the deaf guys. You either move into the dorm with them or you can go to the cell blocks. You pick." I was like, "Well, shit, I'm gonna move into the dorm with them." So from there, I was like completely immersed in the deaf world, and I picked up sign language really quick. I was really good at it. Enough so that when I came home in 2013, I was able to make a career of it. I started off as a freelance sign language interpreter, just doing medical interpreting appointments, doing, businesses, doing college interpreting. And I also went to school. I went through a interpreting program at William H. University. Um, went through a bachelor's degree program for ASL to English interpreting and minor in business administration. And anyway, long and short, I got certified as a sign language interpreter. I traveled all over the country doing it. For 5 or 6 years, I was the director of business development for a national interpreting company. Did really well with it, but I got burned out, man. And I realized that I was at the peak of my career, and there was no room to grow. Um, I had dreams of doing real estate development and flipping houses and making more money than I mean, look, I was a successful interpreter. I was making six figures a year doing it, but I was like, I want more. I want to leave my kids with something. And so a guy that I knew started up a roofing company around the time that I was getting burned out from interpreting. And he was like, "Man, I know that you're way better salesman than me. I think you would kill it here. Um, and um, and I would like you to come work here." So I did, and I immediately hit the ground running, dude. And what's crazy is, and I tell my people this, Like, I've got all the sales training you can imagine. I mean, we probably hold hands a little too much over here. I've got this platform, that platform. We do a lot of in-house training. We have meetings. We do go out with all the things, right? When I jumped in, I rode around with a dude for like 2, 3 days, and that was it. And it was like, "Hey, man, have at it." And, like, that's how I got it. I didn't have, nobody put me on the nipple and allowed me to, breastfeed for 6 months to a year. I literally just started making it happen. Um, you know, the, I had I paid out of my own pocket to do lunch and learns with real estate agents, and, they didn't want me doing it, so they wanted to be there, and I was like and then they didn't have time to do it, so I was like, "You know what? I'm doing this myself," and dude, I was paying for lunches once a week at different real estate brokerages, and I was just developing relationships with everybody I could. I use social media like crazy. I tell people all the time, Facebook is the most free, visible platform that you can use to get yourself out there, and that's what I did to the point where, like, people would make comments, "Oh, Scott, you post a lot." Yeah, I know, but I do a lot of roofs too, and that's where I get them from, and it's like, I don't care what people think about how much I posted. Every roof that I inspected, I made a video, and I literally stood at the top of the peak at this top of the ridge, and I just did a 360, and I posted the video, "Out here doing da 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 da. If you need a roof inspection, call Scott Huffman." Gave my number, and that was it. I did that forever, still to this day do it, it kind of in a different fashion because of the role, man, but I, uh I got so to the point where people were like, "Man, when I think about a roof, I think about you because you post so much," and, like, it did exactly what I wanted it to do, and, so anyways, I hustled for I started in 21 and I got off on my own and at the end of 24 November. So, probably 3.5 years. I was a project manager at one roofing company and went to another. And so roofing afforded me the opportunity financially to start chasing my dreams and doing the real estate flipping. So I started buying houses when I started up a company, GSA. I was actually in bed with my wife one night. I said, "Man, I need a name for this." And we were tossing stuff back and forth. I was thinking about my kids. So I just Gavin, Savannah, Aiden, Silas. I was like GSAS. Because you know why I did that though? Because I watched a video and dude was like, "It doesn't matter if your company's name shit stain. Like, it you're the company, like, you make it what it people spend all this time and effort looking at names, and that's fine or whatever, but it's like, it doesn't matter, how you brand it, how you market it, who you are is with the company." So, anyway, GSAS, it started off as GSAS Property Management because I
Mm.
was gonna do that, like, manage properties and flip and do all the things. Well, I literally only started out with the intention of flipping houses with that, but again, going back to social media, I just was making progress video of my flip houses, and people would call me and, "Hey, Scott, can you do my floors? Hey, can you do my sheetrock? Hey, can you do this?" I mean, full, transparency, I don't have some thick construction background. Prior to prison, I was a dope dealer. Prior to that, I worked odds and ends jobs in a chemical plant. I wasn't really skilled at any of that. I was really, if I'm being honest, the people that would hire me were getting stuff from me, so they were like kind of giving me free jobs in the plant. You know what I mean? Just to keep the supply nearby. Um, but like I didn't have a solid construction trade. I honestly didn't, and I'm not afraid to admit that at all. And but my skill set is putting people together, putting the right people in the right
Mm.
spots, assembling a team, right? So when I was flipping my houses, I went through a lot of shitheads to get to the good guys that I have. Some I still have to this day. And so anyways, just from that, hey guys, we got some more work coming, to the point where I was working as a project manager for one company, running GSAS, flipping houses, doing renovation projects, and all these things, managing both of them. And, the last roofing company I was at, I assembled a team of 9 guys. They were killing it. I was making anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a week just on my sales team, plus the roofs that I was doing, and I was like, "You know what? What would I be making?" Here's the lie that I told myself too.
Mhm.
What would I be
Mhm.
making if I did this all for myself,
That's right.
right? So I did it. I said, I went and signed up for the, licensing exam. Um, so I've got a commercial builder license and a commercial residential builder license, and, I said, "What would I be making if I did this under GSAS, if I just not did roofing elsewhere and added roofing to the GSAS umbrella? I'd be a one-stop shop." And that's what I did. I passed my tests, and I went to the people that I was working for. I was like, "Look, going off on my own." I actually have a business partner. He's a buddy of mine, and um, um, so I brought him in over there, and so me and him linked up, and we're like, "Let's do this." So we went and told him, and did it the right way. "Hey, I'm not taking none of my jobs here. You can disperse these out to all these people. I'd like to close these out." I did exactly what I said I was gonna do. I closed out, I didn't steal no people. All those guys are still there. Um, and, just got it from the ground up. And, so we started off, and I realized quick that I had it really good as a project manager, man. To the point where some days as I got into the deal, I was like, "Dude, I kinda miss being a project manager." I didn't have the responsibility over here. But you get so far into the company thing, it's like, I'm not a quitter, so I was like, Imma make this work."
So you went on the journey, Scott, and started off just, just, hey, this could be a great way to fuel this other thing I want to do in the real estate investing space. That grew into, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you help me with that? Which led to some general contracting. Then you brought the roofing in house and had those realizations. That realization, man, I think that this is a good point to sit on for a second. Is there's so many people that were in your position that go, man, why don't I just do it myself? You don't think about there's this whole other aspect of it, right? And then and and a lot of times you have it really good,
Yeah, you do,
and y-
um, the things that you don't think about when you're a project manager are simply, like, the extreme burden that you have to make sure the bills are paid. A lot of guys take for face value, "Oh, I collect a deposit, and I get paid when I'm done, and da 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 da." Yeah, that's only one small component, dude. When you start having to hire office manager, somebody to do your books, you gotta pay insurances. I mean, dude, my workman's comp and general liability is a month between 6 to 8 grand. Uh, you gotta have programs. You gotta start paying instead of using Company Cam, you're paying for Company Cam and Roofer and Eagle Views and this system and that system and then QuickBooks. And then you might even have to start putting some attorneys on retainer because somebody was an idiot and didn't want to pay you. Whatever the case is. Like, there's a lot of just non-essential fees that just they
that's
pop
right.
up at any given moment of the day, or hey, you got a new sales guy, and guess what? That son of a gun's got to pay his bills. So guess what? Maybe all his checks aren't turning in, but he needs to make it. He's doing good, and you got to spot him 2,500 or 1,500. Just you don't think about those things when you're a project man because it's very just transactional. I give you a
Yes,
check, we put the roof on, and I get paid, and then I get my commission. Like that's real. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's like it's very, very surface when you and before you get into the weeds of running the business. So and just full
let's put
transparency. Go ahead.
yeah, let's put it
Go
this way. There's a lot of support that you don't think that you're not thinking about.
Yeah.
right? Like you're just not thinking about all the support that's coming from the back end financially and from a time perspective.
No, it's
So
like, somebody's gotta keep the books, when these
that's
checks
right.
get turned in, they don't just you don't just put it in the into the bank account, and it just at the end of the year, you just give it to the IRS, "Here you go, this is what I made this year." No, there's P&Ls, there's this, gross profit, net profit, EBITDA, and all these things, and recently, I don't know if I told you this, I felt like I had hit my intellectual capacity for running a business.
Mm,
Um, I realized quickly the trajectory that the roofing business is in with just private equity and the trajectory of insurance and all these things. And I said, if I'm gonna grow this thing and build something worth either keeping around for a long time that's sustainable or selling one day if that becomes an option, I've gotta know more than what I know right now. I'll give you a prime example, a profit and loss. For face value, you look at a sheet of paper with all these numbers, and it seems like, okay, well, da, da, da. That's if all of the things have been coded correctly. That's if you're putting certain things in the company in the right spots, right? And your overheads or, what in the net profit versus gross profit and all these things, right? So it's like if you've done all that correctly, still what you're looking at, do you quite understand that? And I'm being honest with you, I can tell you how much money 120s is or how much money 250s are, but I can't tell you how to read a profit and loss statement. I was at my
mhm,
intellectual not just for that, but just other things like really what it takes to run my company on an annual basis. The thinking of this, I need to do enough business to where I hit my annual budget in July or August,
mm,
and then the rest of the year is profit, knowing what it takes to run my company for a year. And then get the Black Friday thing, mindset. It's like, okay, well, I've met the budget annually. Now for the rest of the year, I'm in the clear. I can take these jobs for less money and all these different things. And I wasn't running my car. I was looking at the numbers all wrong and, just some metrics internally for my salespeople and my permanent staff and just different things like that. Like I was felt like I was in a rat race and I didn't know what to do anymore. So I hired a consulting firm to come in and dude, they have been
mhm.
an absolute gem. They have turned this thing around in a good way, and just taught me and my business partner and everybody in the company things that none of us knew, just because you don't know what you don't know. And I wasn't born inherently to run a business. Like I told you before, I'm a drug dealer, prison, sign language interpreter. Like nobody taught me how to run a business. You know what I mean? So it's like the things that I did not know is what I needed to know. And I just felt like I had hit a wall. So,
Yeah.
but those are the things going back to like the running a business. It's like there's a lot that goes into it, and most people just don't think. The other thing is like you take losses. We took some heavy losses last year. We had one company that didn't pay us $200,000. Um, we had some, employees that were stealing, um, and just different things. And you add those up and you try to figure out how not to make those mistakes again. And it's just it's all the small things, and it really just takes time being in business. It takes time learning those mistakes and doing stuff differently and putting things in place. And um, you know, if I was a quitter, I would have done quit by now, trust me. But
Yeah.
I can't just because A, I don't want to show my kids that, like I'm big on like if you start something, you're gonna finish it. And you better finish it well. And I don't ever want to be
Mhm.
that dad. It's like, my dad had a company and he just didn't have it anymore, without some type of reward coming with it.
One of the things I think about, Scott, or one of the things I've said over the years, or it kind of became a Jimism in my company, is that you want to keep your knowledge level greater than your income level, right? And once your knowledge level and income level kind of come together, that's what I'm hearing. Like you hit this ceiling, right? And it's like, okay, What do we do next? How did you determine what the next, how have you thought about, or how have you determined, and this is the thing that we need to learn next or to do
Yeah.
next to
Well,
progress?
I was having conversations with a couple of bigger companies in my area, the owners, and they were explaining to me, how they look at things, and I heard them, but I didn't understand them. Like, I heard them
Mm,
telling me the things, I was like, "But shit, how did they," and then I was like, "You know what? I thought in my head, I said this is I was like, "Dude, I think I'm at my intellectual capacity, like, of what I know currently by happenstance and sheer determination, I've arrived to where I'm at right now." I think I told you in our phone call, like, last year, we did right under 4 million in our first full year of having roofing, and that's okay. Um but, like, I'm looking at companies that are doing 10, 15, 20, $30 million a year, and it's like, "Well, how do they get there?" And, they're telling me, "You gotta look at this, you gotta do this." I'm like, "I don't even understand what that means." And then the other thing was I felt like we kept running in circles, implementing new stuff because this didn't work and that didn't work, and, like, especially in the sales department, like, trying to get the reps to where they felt value in going out and knocking or cold calling or figuring out ways to generate business, and it was like, dude, we just kept hitting a brick wall, and,
mm,
you know, the consultant that I came he came in and he said, "Hey, man," he's like, "I understand that y'all are frustrated because you feel like you keep saying the same things over and over again." He's like, "Is it in writing?" I was like, "Nope." SOPs, right? And, like, I literally have been that's another thing, like, I have a freaking 12-page document with SOP throw up on it of things in the company that are alright. I never actually formalized it though and put it in the Google Drive with Zapier and the agent like me and you have talked about. Again,
yep.
another thing that overwhelms me because I'm like, I understand that it needs to happen, but like the how, right? So, recently making all of the reps and different people job description. You're signing off on this. Okay, this position has an SOP and when you have questions, you refer to it. It's like, I was sitting there getting frustrated like a dummy because I'm telling these people over and over, and I have ADHD. I can sit into the best conference in the entire world, and I'll only take away 10 to 15% of what was said throughout the day. So I'm expecting these people who probably on the same level as me to listen and adhere or make it stick what I've just said in this meeting 7, 8, 9, 10, times. Um, and so it's like, you know what? You're right. But the fear of not knowing how to do something kept me procrastinating and doing it, right? Because it's like I
Mm.
know what an SOP is. I know what the premise of it is, but like what do I do? I've got this long freaking 2-mile text of all these SOPs, but like implementing them. So, that was another thing that was, like, kind of a turnaround. People started, "Oh, okay, well, I just referred to this," and it takes time with anything new that you implement, but, like, the actual doing it is the important part, and, it's like and then if something don't work, you revise it, but as long as you have it in place, you have a reference point, and I just didn't have reference points. Just had a bunch of hustle with no reference points.
And but that's how it starts, right? Like that's phase one is do something. And phase one in any business is you better get some money
Yeah.
coming in the door, right? Like get some money coming in the door and then learn from that. And those are the lessons that you're learning right now. You're right. There's money coming in the door and it's like, okay, now I have to learn this. Now I have to learn that. Now we have to, create checklists and create SOPs and create all these things. The other thing I think how one of the things I think about with things like that with sales reps, sometimes they don't see the benefit the way you see it. And so until they see that benefit of working the neighborhood, doing the things like doing those extra steps that They're like, "Oh, I ran the lead, I sold the job, and I'm going home for the day." Right? But until they feel that, "Oh, no, this is the wait a second. Wait, my paycheck just tripled because I did this small amount of extra work?" Right? Like,
Right.
there's how have you been, how have you implemented that with your sales team? How have you gotten them to buy in on those additional things? Is it carrot or stick? How are you doing that?
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos. Or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today. There's no reason you're seeing our sponsor Coast pop up all over the roofing industry right now. Roofing businesses that use Coast can save an average of 1.5 days on their monthly book closing process. So if you use QuickBooks, Sage, or NetSuite, your Coast transactions can sync directly to those platforms. But the real game changer is the fraud protection. With Coast's telematic integrations, GPS is used to make sure that the truck is actually at the pump before the transaction goes through. If the truck isn't there, the transaction doesn't go through. Click the link in the description and see how Coast can level up your business. The Coast Visa commercial credit card is issued by Celtic Bank, subject to credit approval. Results may vary.
Is it carrot or stick? How are you doing that?
I tell you, the most effective thing that we did that has finally started to stick is metrics. So, for
Mm,
example, the guy helped us create this. We said, just prime example, 150 doors. This is a very low bar too. 150 doors a week, 120 cold calls. 4 inspections. 1 claim filed or 1 retail done. Right. And then also, you can cut your metrics in half if you've filed a claim, if you've done a certain amount of inspections, or if you've got three for the week or claims or retail, you know, your metrics are out the door because at that point you're producing and you figured out a way to generate business. You don't have to follow these metrics unless you're just not holding up. So
mm,
like doing things like that
mhm,
and that'll probably evolve over time, but that was the first thing that we did where people and we're having a weekly meeting on Tuesday where everybody comes in, they talk about if they didn't hit their metrics for the week, what did you do, what didn't you do? Is also, psychologically, you see your colleagues like, "Oh, man, dude, they got 3 this week. I didn't get any. Well, what didn't you do?" Really didn't follow my metrics. I don't wanna be the loser next week, so let me come in here and have my shit together, and things like that, and I think that coupled with holding these people accountable instead of babysitting. I had a huge problem. It's like I
mhm.
see somebody, they're not doing it. I'll just go over there and do it, or my business partner. And it's like, you know what? That cripples people more than it helps them. And you're never going to develop the people that you want to develop by doing their job for them. You have to
Yes,
allow them to make the mistakes, and you have to allow them to learn from those mistakes. And you know what? There are some people who just aren't fit for this, and that's okay. And
for
you
sure.
ride them out. But you have to have a reference point to do that by, and you have to give them
Yeah.
something to follow. You know, truth be told, because of the way that I was taught, I never had any of that. We didn't have metrics in it, so it was almost like I was being a little expecting too much, in the sense that, I I can't get disappointed because nobody behaves like me. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like, not everybody's gonna be a Scott, or not everybody's gonna be a Justin. But people can be good, but there's a reason that I own a business, and it's because I followed these things to get where I'm at. And that not everybody's gonna be a business owner, and that's okay. But you may have great people out there, they just need guidance and they need metrics to operate within. You know? And so once I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, giving a blueprint, asking them to follow it, following up weekly, figuring out where their shortcomings are, where their gains are, molding that, and then also getting rid of the people who just aren't gonna make it, and they're taking up space and sucking energy and putting bad seeds out into the crowd and things like that. You know, that's a we used to keep people way too long, given that
Yeah.
they're gonna
Everyone
make
does,
it
man.
just one more month, one more month. It's like, nah, no, you can usually tell when somebody's not gonna make it.
You can, but without those metrics, to me, this is what I learned in my businesses is that it is without those metrics, you're making decisions on feelings, right? So you're making I feel like, man, I feel like if we just give Joe another month, like Joe's gonna do all right, man. But if but Joe's not making the phone calls, Joe's not you know what I mean? Like, so
Yep.
if well, Joe's not gonna make it if Joe doesn't do these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so it makes a much clearer path. One of the I like that, especially integrating new things into the team. One of the things I heard from you is that you integrated this, you said, "Hey, if you're hitting your numbers, these are like you're okay. Like we're not going to require you in addition to. But if you're not hitting your numbers and you're not doing this, now we have a problem." Like I think that's a great way for owners to look at it, especially when you have people already. And then you're bringing this
Yeah.
new thing to them and saying, "Hey, no, now I want you to make 120 calls a week and I want you to knock 150 doors a week." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's got to work for you for like a year and a half now, and I didn't like that wasn't part of the original agreement, right?" So do you think that was helpful? Was that helpful? And have your have your team members gone the way you've wanted them to go?
To be honest with you, we've seen some very good results from following these metrics. However, I think it's a starking reality as well for those who you hoped would make it, and you may have, had them around a little too long or whatnot. And like
Yeah.
you see who's really with the program and who's not, who's really just been half stepping, who you had high hopes for, but it's like if you want to know the reason why they're not killing it, is because of them. You know, when you lay out the
Mhm.
blueprint, you say, "Hey, look, this is what works. This is proven to work." And I've shared my own personal journey on how I became successful in this. So when you couple that with the metrics and you still it's a person problem, and it's not the program's problem, right? And, you know, I think also when we implemented this, like, I had a really green team with just a
Mm.
few people that had been around for a while. And it's easy to coach people that are green versus some seasoned people, right? So, and we've been really selective on who we've allowed to come over here because I know the kind of person that I want, and I know the kind of person I don't want. And there's some people out there that are really good that just have crappy attitudes, and I don't like that. I'd rather train a moldable person and create
Mm.
a killer than to have some good seasoned rep that has a shit attitude, you know what I mean? And so overall, the team has been pretty receptive to the metrics, and they've been excited about it because remember as before, I was just like, "Hey, do this, 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 and that." They're trying to remember everything I'm telling them to do. Now I have and, like, there's a spreadsheet you have to turn in every Monday, so it's week to week. Every Monday,
Mhm.
close of business, and then the other thing is they're logging it in Hail Recon. So, like, they're logging in the doors, they're logging in the cold calls. I can see the metrics in Hail Recon of who made the calls, who knocked the doors, what the feedback was, and I can also tell by the number of claims you filed or the number of retail jobs you brought in, whether or not you're if so in 2 or 3 weeks, if you've met your metrics, but you haven't hit on there's a problem. Because if you're hitting 150 doors, there's no reason why you shouldn't have at least 1 deal. And it has nothing to do with the metrics at that point, it has to do with the person, so either you're lying or we gotta work on
That's
some
right.
stuff. And you can figure out quick who's lying and who's not, you know what I mean? Um, so, having that though has been really nice to just be able to have a frame of reference to use when going over people's numbers or tracking their data and all that. It's like, we were winging it, really, really winging it
Yes.
for a while. And it's like, it feels really good to have a system in place and have a program to follow.
And that comes back to the talent versus training that you talked about when you started. It was like ride around in the truck with someone for a couple days and then hit the streets. Like go do it. Like best of luck to you.
Yeah.
Um, it takes a very specific type of person to be able to succeed in that environment, right? Like you
Right.
have to be outrageously self motivated, outrageously, like, and especially when you don't know. One of I'm not a big fan of Grant Cardone, but I love the concept of the 10x rule. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Like if you think it's going to take knock 100 doors, go knock 1,000, right? Like
Right.
if you 10x what you think, then you're guaranteed to accomplish it. And most people aren't wired that way. They're just not. They're not wired to to just continue to to uh, work with how should we with faith, right? Like I'm just going to keep going until like it's not something that's built into people. It's
Yeah.
but if you tell them, hey, if you knock 150 doors, if you make 120 calls, this is the expected outcome. And maybe those first 150 doors you knock and the first 120 calls you make, maybe it was your scripting.
Right.
Right? Now we can work on your conversations that you're having in those. But
Yeah.
if we get into, week 4, week 6, week 12, and it's still not working, then it's like, well, what's going on here? Like you're doing the activity, but you're not doing but the outcome isn't there. That it
In
is a
this
clear
business, I find
identifier. Yeah.
yeah, in this business, I find that a lot of people think they, uh can do it until the rubber meets the road and they realize it takes a lot of self-determination and motivation and self-discipline because you gotta motivate yourself to walk out the door every day and go be bold and courageous and knock on doors and face rejection and all the things. And truth be told, a lot of people are sensitive and can't handle rejection. And you find
Yeah.
out that quick when you come into the roofing business because the premise of the job is like, "No, no, 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 yes." You know? And,
Mhm.
you find out quick if you're built for it tough or not, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. And so that kind of makes me think of like the right people in the right seat. We had a conversation about that also. Like, early stage, you're usually just hiring people that you're looking for bodies a lot of
Yep.
times. Like, I just need someone to help. I just need someone to help. How has that progressed in your business over the years, finding the right person for the right seat?
Man, I tell you, I've learned another lesson the hard way. When I first started, it was nothing but a bunch of homeboys and friends and people I knew, and none of it worked out. 0. Um, some of the people that stole from me, been knowing them since they were 6.
Mm.
Um, and here's the other thing. People will tell you they can do anything, right, to get a job. And then you come and you're like, "Well, I thought you said you could do this and this and that." And it's like, you figure out down the road, that you put skilled people. So, for example, in construction, I have went through lots of sub crews who said that I can do flooring, sheetrock, paint, carpentry, all these different things, and those are the people that I run from on anytime. So, oh yeah, we can do it all. No, you can't.
Yeah.
I have for roofing crews. I've got shingle roofers, I've got TPO roofers, I've got coatings, I've got a crew for every different type of roofing system. Then trade labor, plumbers, electricians, sheetrock paint, I've got floor, I've got tile, just different things. It's like you have to find skilled people. And some of these positions you can train people, if they don't bring a whole bunch of bad habits to the table, right? Crazy enough, my mother works for me after I got stole from because my last bookkeeper was her and her husband were moving stuff around so he can get commission payouts before jobs are paid off and wound up leaving him a mess, and that's a whole nother story. But anyways, I said, "You know what? I'm never gonna put another person in here to deal with our money that I don't truly trust." My mother hasn't worked in probably 35 years, but she was trainable. We You got her training, and she does really good now, and, but I know she's not gonna steal from me. That's the most important part for that, and then, putting we got an office manager that's really good. Literally, full transparency, I just recently, as of a couple months, have a good sales manager.
Mm.
I've had people in that spot who said that they can do it, and they sucked, and it's okay. But it takes a special human to be able to deal with all the personalities on the sales team and then also produce themselves. So it's like, um, I'm just now getting around into finding everybody's proper position and quite frankly, people who were in positions, taking them out and put in either not giving them a position at all or putting them in another position that they can excel in. But definitely having the right people in the right spots, and I have learned that the hardest way possible.
So I think that it just takes time, right? Like I think I just had this conversation on a recent podcast, but I think about it like when you're starting a business, it's almost you're starting like a new franchise in the NFL. You don't expect them to have like the most cohesive squad, right? Like you don't
Right.
they're not going to have the best players. They're not going to have the best coaches. They're not going to have the best everything. It's, hey, this is what we think will be good. All right, well, we get through a season. Yep, man, our linebacker squad just wasn't it this year. Let's go recruit a new set, right? Like, man, our quarterback just isn't working out. Let's go find another quarterback. I think that we,
Unless you're LSU.
but I'm sure it took a little
We
while
just
for
go
them to
steal
put it
coaches
together
and recruit
too.
all the players in the NIL, but yeah,
But
that's not for
that's
everybody.
what
Yeah.
But then that speaks to like we're up in I'm up in Minnesota, and the Twins for a while there were a farm league for the Yankees and the Red Sox and the you know what I mean. That's what it felt like every
Yeah.
time we had a player get to a level of success. It was like, oh, you're going to New York now, like because so there's an aspect to that too that now it's an attraction Like, would you rather work on this squad or this squad? Would you rather work for this company or this company?
Yeah.
But that takes time to develop also. It's like, man, I really would like to work for GSAS, man. Like they seem like they have good people over there. They have a good time. Their reps make good money. You know what I mean? Like but no one knows
Building an
that when you
environment
start
that
out.
people wanna come to.
And no one knows that when you start out, right? No
Yeah,
one knows. And you're a brand new company. Who wants to work for a brand new company,
right.
right?
Because
Like
they have to
if you're
inherit all the early season problems.
That's right. So
Yep,
I think we don't give ourselves enough grace in this. We don't step back and look at it and go, you know what? Hey, it's all right, man. This is where we're at. Let's solve the next problem to get to get better, to get better, and to get better. And some of those are, you gotta know the right person for the right seat. You gotta if you get to a point, there's a certain point like you're at now or you've gotten to now where it's like, man, I just gotta put these metrics in place. And now that's gonna help us determine, is this the right person in the right seat? Is this person the right for? And you may find out that they may be a salesperson, but they're great. They understand the build and they understand the products and maybe they're better on the
production.
production side.
Yeah,
Maybe move them over there.
yep.
Maybe it's like, hey, I see you're not making your calls and not knocking doors, but boy, when you talk to a homeowner, like they love you because you're so knowledgeable. Well,
Right,
maybe you're a job site supervisor. You know what I mean? Like we got to, if you're a good player, maybe you're not in the right position.
yeah.
There's a lot to that, but that looking back at the team that you built and the ones that didn't work out and the things that failed, what were some of the red flags that you now looking back, you're like, oh man, I missed that one.
One of the things is, when people come in and they're heavy on the gas, and then all of a sudden the brakes get pumped and the meetings get missed and the phone calls get dim. You put it up. You don't want to believe it, right? It's like, they ain't up to nothing. That's one thing.
Mm,
Second thing is if everyone around you is saying, hey, you know, giving you feedback and then you don't do anything about it, or they're saying, this is what I've heard, and you don't do nothing about it, or you don't even at least have a conversation. The other thing, and like we said before, hiring friends and family for the most part
mm.
is a disaster waiting to happen. And again, that's what I did in the beginning, just hiring people I know and people I thought I could trust and things like that. Trust is earned, of course, but um, you know, one of the other things is here's the biggest one that I did. You put people in a position and you trust them, but there's no checks and balances, and you trust them to the
Mm.
point where it gets so far down the road before you start looking. Even if you trust somebody, you need to check in on them every now and then, or regularly, really, is what needs to happen, just so you can have assurance, and you also know, hey, it hasn't gotten too far gone if something is up, because a person that's gonna get over on you is gonna smile to your face, lovey-dovey
Uh-huh.
you, warm and fuzzy you, and then before you know it, they've robbed you blind, or they've done something detrimental to the company. And I learned that the very hard way is like putting people in positions and then not checking in, not having the regular meetings, not
Mhm.
looking into things a little bit harder. And it bit me in the butt greatly, and I took a huge loss as a result
But
of it. But
Scott,
again,
but Scott,
in
you
my
but
life,
Scott, you were busy, man. You were just busy. You can make the excuse you were just busy. You were just so you just overlooked all that stuff, man. Don't worry. Like I think that's where
yeah.
we get a lot of times when this stuff is going on. It's like, oh man, I'm too busy to check in on so and so. I'm too busy to look and verify.
Yeah.
but it's trust but
Yeah.
verify, right? Like, and so we make these excuses. I think another one, man, and you know, it may not be something that you consciously thought of, but it made me think of it when you said about hiring friends and family, and mainly friends, probably. It's easier. It's easier. You already know them. You've interviewed them at, over the years that, like at the, like you
Yeah.
went to school with them. You did and I think that if you don't have a skill set in hiring, that it's easy. You don't have to
Yeah.
develop a
Come on.
skill set and hire. You just, hey, yeah, hey, Joe, I got a job for you. You don't have a job right now? Psh, I got a
Yeah.
job for you,
Yeah.
right? It's easy, and so many times the easy route is what gets you. You know, like,
Bite you in the butt every
um,
time, dude.
that's right, that's right. It does. So, you opened up about your past and, the hard lessons you learned. I mean, learning to be a sign language interpreter by hanging out with the deaf crowd in prison is man, you went on a journey, right? Like, that's a real journey. Um, how do you feel like all of those all of the things that happened in your youth and the way that do you what what makes this what makes it what what is it now that redemption means to you in building this business? Like, do you feel like you're redeeming your past? Do you feel like it's just that was just part of the things you needed to learn? How has that really fallen into your, day to day nowadays? You got, four kids and the family, and how does that
Yeah.
play
I
into it
think,
now?
man, I'll be honest with you. I'd say 60 to 70% of my staff are convicted felons or in recovery. Um, and I'm connected to, I mean, I do aside from this, I do a lot of criminal legal reform work at the Capitol. Um, and to be honest with you, dude, I like showing people that that it can be done, that it doesn't matter if you're a convicted felon or not, you can own a business. It doesn't matter what your past is. At the end of the day, it's about who you are today. I'm not some
Right.
special human being who just possesses ultimate powers to do what I'm doing today. Anybody can do it. But also to show people that are not convicted felons, that are not in recovery, that who I used to be is not who I am today. And so, like, showing people, A, that I do all of the same things that everybody else in my community does. I hunt, I fish, I raise my family, I'm married, I have nice things, I own a business. Like, yes, I was an idiot at one point in my life and I went and did my time and I've been home for almost, 14 years. But um I'm a regular everyday Joe. And most of the people that did the things that I did are at some point, but they need a chance, man. I need an
Yeah.
opportunity. And, and really, to be honest with me, showing that people that used to live like I did can be redeemed and can own businesses and can have jobs and can go hunting and can go vote and do all these things. It can happen. People just need opportunities to, and look, when I was in the interpreting business, who a lady that I used to work for named Katrina, um, she saw something in me, and she called me to have a meeting. She said, "Hey, do you wanna come work for me?" And gave me a job as a director of business development. Saw the hustle in me and refined it, and I learned a lot from her about professionalism and typing appropriate emails and, just professionalism as a whole, what that looks like. And, uh, and she gave me an opportunity when nobody wanted to give me an opportunity. I was a black sheep in the interpreting field. It was like a convicted felon coming out of prison interpreting in a deaf community was like taboo. And nobody wanted, and any other interpreters out there that could have a similar path, we can't talk about it because everybody's gonna talk bad about it. I was pretty vocal about my past and everything, like, bursted right through the interpreting field with that, like, "Hey, look, you can be a convicted felon and an interpreter," things like that. So, like, but she gave me an opportunity when nobody would, man, and she had just started a company, had 0 on-site contracts, and in the first year in interpreting services, I did $1 million, in sign language interpreting, and, did more and more every year thereafter, but, it's like she'd tell you to this day, she's hired people with master's degrees and bachelor's degrees in marketing and sales and all that, and I ran circles around them. But it
Yep.
went back to I just needed an opportunity.
That's right, and the right opportunity, and,
Correct.
great stories have great struggles
Yeah.
and things that have been overcome. Scott, man, I appreciate your time today. This
Yeah,
has been
man.
another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.